There's a moment in your life when you pause, not because someone told you to, but because something inside you whispers a warning, a quiet discomfort, a subtle twist in your chest, a faint signal that the balance within you has shifted. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the greatest danger to a person is not the world outside, but the influences they allow inside their mind. And you can feel it, even if you don't fully understand it yet. You begin noticing that your choices don't feel completely yours. Your emotions don't rise the same way they used to. Your confidence doesn't move with the same strength. Someone's words linger longer than they should. Someone's opinions weigh heavier than they deserve. And you don't know when it started, but you sense that something is slowly steering you away from yourself. This is where manipulation begins, not with force but with influence. Not with noise but with subtlety. Not with chains but with expectations. And the moment you become aware of this shift, the moment you start to observe it, you take your first step back toward your own power. You've probably felt it before, that strange heaviness after talking to someone. The way your mind becomes foggy, the way your decisions begin to feel blurred. You walk away questioning yourself instead of feeling grounded. You wonder if you said the wrong thing, felt the wrong emotion, or thought the wrong thought. And slowly, without realizing it, you start adjusting yourself to please someone else's expectations. That's how manipulation finds its way in. It doesn't break down your walls. It gets you to open the door yourself. You start becoming overly careful with your words around them. Not because you fear them, but because you fear disappointing them. They don't control you directly, they control your emotions about yourself. They make you think that you need their approval to stay aligned, their validation to stay confident, their presence to stay stable. And here is the truth you must realize. Any influence that makes you doubt your own judgment is a threat to your inner freedom. The Stoics warned us about this from the very beginning. They taught that the greatest virtue is inner clarity, knowing what belongs to you and what belongs to someone else. But manipulators twist that border. They make you believe that their voice is wiser than your own, that their interpretation of your life is more accurate than yours, that their perspective is the one you should lean on. And slowly, you begin to shrink. Not dramatically, not visibly, but quietly. You start saying, maybe I'm wrong more often. You start apologizing for things you didn't do. You start hoping they won't be upset. You start thinking about what they might think before thinking about what you think. This is how emotional control is built. Not by overpowering you, but by weakening your trust in yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A person cannot disturb you unless you allow their judgment to enter your mind." But manipulators make their judgment feel like truth. They make their disappointment feel like failure. They make their approval feel like oxygen. And you, unknowingly, begin to depend. But here's the part most people don't notice. Manipulators rarely appear as villains. They appear as protectors. They appear as caring friends. They appear as people who understand you more than others. They study your insecurities like a map. They learn your weaknesses like a script. And they speak to you in a language that feels comforting, until it becomes controlling. But the moment you start to question why you feel drained, why you feel confused, why you feel smaller around them, that is the moment your awareness starts waking up. Because awareness is the enemy of manipulation. If you can observe it, you can break it. If you can name it, you can resist it. If you can recognize it, you can reclaim yourself. And as you begin this journey of clarity, you will learn the exact signs that reveal when someone is secretly manipulating you. These signs are subtle. They are quiet. They hide in conversations, behavior, reactions, and emotional patterns. Yet once you see them clearly, the truth becomes impossible to ignore. Session 2 will guide you deeper into the first of these signs, the one that often goes unnoticed because it feels so harmless, yet it plants the first seed of control. You've started noticing that your thoughts don't feel as free as they once did. There was a time when your mind was open, steady, clear, and confident. You felt grounded in your decisions, connected to your instincts, and aligned with your emotions. But now, something inside you feels slightly off, like a quiet tension sitting behind your ribs. And even though you can't fully describe it, you can feel it shaping your inner world. That's how manipulation quietly grows. It never walks into your life shouting. It arrives softly, hidden behind someone who appears understanding, supportive, and emotionally intelligent. They don't demand control, they gently make you believe that giving them control is the right thing to do. And because you're human, because you care, because you try to be kind, you don't see the shift happening. You begin sacrificing small parts of yourself without realizing it. You start changing your tone so they don't misunderstand you. You over-explain small things just to avoid conflict. You rehearse your words in your mind before speaking. You feel nervous about how they might react. And then it happens. You stop trusting your initial reaction to things. You start questioning your own interpretations. You start believing that maybe they are seeing things clearer than you do. And once that seed of doubt enters your mind, the balance between you and them begins to tilt. People who manipulate you don't need to force anything. They simply need to make you feel unsure of yourself. And the moment you feel unsure, they become the person you turn to for clarity. This is where the second stage of manipulation begins, the moment when they start positioning themselves as the only one who truly understands you. Suddenly, they are the one you confide in, the one you seek reassurance from, the one whose approval feels strangely necessary. They create the illusion that without them, you won't know what to believe or how to feel. They don't do this by offering strength. They do it by weakening your connection to yourself. You notice their reactions more and more. A slight sigh from them makes you feel guilty. A small change in their tone makes you feel responsible. Their silence feels like punishment. Their approval feels like a reward. And slowly, without noticing, you begin shaping your behavior based on how they respond. You say less when they look annoyed. You say more when they want attention. You soften your boundaries so they don't get distant. You ignore your discomfort so they don't feel criticized. This is how your emotional world becomes tied to theirs, and this is exactly what the Stoics warned against. They taught that your peace must never depend on the unstable weather of another person's emotions. But manipulators make their emotional storms feel like they're your responsibility to calm. You begin thinking thoughts that never belong to you. You begin feeling guilt that isn't yours to carry. You begin acting out of fear of losing their validation. And they stand there looking innocent, looking kind, looking calm, because for them, control is sweetest when it doesn't look like control at all. But you've started to sense it, haven't you? That strange weight in your chest after conversations. That uneasy silence when you replay their words at night. That inner whisper telling you, something isn't right. This whisper is important, because it's coming from the part of you that manipulation hasn't reached yet. The part of you that still knows truth. The part of you that still remembers your inner strength. The part of you the Stoics believed is unbreakable if you learn to listen. And you're beginning to listen again. You're noticing that every time you try to express something real, they shift the focus. They turn your feelings into exaggeration. They turn your concerns into attacks. They turn your truths into misunderstandings. What you feel becomes too much, what you think becomes wrong, and what you need becomes unreasonable. This is not care. This is not love. This is not understanding. This is psychological control disguised as emotional intimacy. And the clearer you see it, the more the illusion begins to crack. But manipulators don't let go easily. When they sense that you're regaining clarity, they shift strategies. Sometimes they become extra kind. Sometimes they become distant. Sometimes they suddenly show empathy. But every shift has one purpose: to pull you back into their influence. You start sensing these shifts now. You notice how quickly their behavior changes depending on what they want from you. You notice how your emotions rise and fall depending on how they treat you. You notice how you modify yourself to keep the peace. And this awareness, this quiet awakening, is the beginning of your strength returning. Because the moment you start observing manipulation, you weaken its power. The moment you start recognizing the pattern, you step out of it. And the moment you start reclaiming your inner clarity, the balance begins to shift back toward you. In session 3, this shift becomes even clearer as you start seeing the next sign. The one manipulators use when they want to push you deeper into emotional dependence without you even noticing. It's subtle. It's clever. And once you understand it, you'll never fall for it again. The morning after that conversation, you walk outside with a quieter mind, but the weight inside you hasn't disappeared. It shifts, settles, rearranges itself, like a stone rolling from one side of the chest to the other. The Stoic teachings you've been exploring keep resurfacing, whispering through the wind, urging you to observe rather than react, to reflect rather than collapse. You're beginning to see how manipulation often thrives in the spaces where your clarity is blurry and your self-respect is silent. You sit on a cold bench under a tree, listening to the rustle of leaves above you. You replay every moment from the past week, the sudden apologies they gave, the guilt they injected into your decisions, the way they twisted your words until you couldn't even recognize your own intentions. And slowly, the truth sinks deeper. Manipulation never begins loudly. It begins like this: quiet doubts, subtle guilt, gentle self-betrayals. You take a deep breath. A Stoic thought rises within you. What belongs to you cannot be taken from you. And what doesn't belong to you should not be chased. You realize how often manipulators rely on your desire for peace, your desire to avoid conflict, your desire to be seen as good or understanding. That desire becomes an open door and they quietly walk through it. As your thoughts unfold, the world around you continues as if nothing is happening. People walk past, cars hum in the distance, birds move from tree to tree. Yet inside you, something is shifting, something that hasn't shifted in years. You feel the beginning of a reclaiming. Your mind drifts back to one specific moment, the night when they accused you of not caring enough, simply because you didn't immediately do what they wanted. You remember how your chest tightened, how you swallowed your own boundaries just to keep calm, how you took responsibility for emotions that weren't yours. And that's when something becomes clear to you. Manipulation isn't only about what they do to you, it's also about what you allow yourself to carry. You lean back against the bench and let this truth settle. You think about how Marcus Aurelius would handle such a moment, not with anger, not with bitterness, but with observation. He would step outside himself, look at the situation as if it were happening to someone else, and ask, "Is this under my control? Or merely a perception I am enslaved to?" When you apply that perspective to your own situation, you notice a pattern you overlooked before. They never apologized without adding a condition. They never complimented you without planting a seed of self-doubt. They never showed care without tying a rope around your sense of freedom. As the acknowledgement surfaces, you feel something inside you unclench. The story continues within your thoughts. You remember how session 2 ended, with you recognizing the emotional knots they tied around your decisions. Now, in session 3, you begin tracing those knots back to their source. You're not blaming yourself anymore, you're learning yourself. And that is the beginning of every Stoic awakening. You stand from the bench and begin walking. The air feels different, cooler, clearer, as if matching the clarity forming inside you. You walk through narrow streets, noticing the details you usually ignore. The cracks on the sidewalk, the faded paint on a door, a cat stretched out on a warm wall. Life, in all its simplicity, keeps reminding you that the world isn't as heavy as the one someone tried to trap you in. As you walk, your inner dialogue deepens. How many times did I shrink myself just to avoid disappointing them? How many times did I silence my discomfort because I feared conflict? How many times did I accept blame because I thought peace required my sacrifice? These questions aren't accusations, they're awakenings. They're the beginning of reclaiming a part of you that felt lost. You step into a small cafe, not because you're thirsty but because you feel the need to sit somewhere warm. The aroma of fresh coffee fills the air and you take a seat by the window. You watch people crossing the street, unaware of your internal storm. Somehow this brings comfort. The world moves and you can move with it. You take out your notebook, the same one you used before. On a blank page you write, "Today I will not abandon myself." The words look simple, but they carry the weight of an inner revolution. Then you write another line. Manipulation grows in silence, but so does strength. You pause, observing the ink drying on the page. You realize that the person who tried to control you didn't fail because you resisted. They failed because you began to see. Awareness is the one weapon manipulators cannot defend against. Once you notice the pattern loses its power. A deep breath escapes your chest. Not forced, not shaky, just natural. You sit there for a long time, letting your thoughts organize themselves, letting the emotional fog clear. Something inside you is becoming still, not numb, not cold, but centered. You're not trying to fight anything. You're simply letting truth replace confusion. After finishing your drink, you stand, place the notebook back in your bag, and step outside again. The day looks brighter, even though the sun hasn't moved. It's you who has moved. You've shifted from confusion to clarity, from emotional noise to inner order. And as you walk home, you silently understand. This journey isn't about defeating someone who manipulated you. It's about learning how to never abandon yourself again. The walk back home feels quieter than usual, not because the world has changed, but because your mind has begun to open space where chaos used to live. The air is still, the sky dull and gray, but inside you there's a forming warmth, a kind of secret fire that wasn't burning a few days ago. You feel it in the way your steps fall more evenly, in the way your thoughts no longer collide with each other. There is order beginning to rise from the confusion. As you move through the familiar streets, the teachings you've been reflecting on expand within your thoughts. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. And now you're finally choosing the color instead of letting someone else stain it. You reach your door and pause before entering. Something tells you to take one last breath outside, to acknowledge the shift taking place. When you step inside, it feels like crossing a threshold not just of a home, but of a new state of being. You place your things down, sit at the edge of your bed, and allow silence to settle around you. But instead of being unsettling, the silence feels like an ally. You're beginning to trust yourself again, piece by piece. Your mind circles back to something that surfaced in session 3, the recognition that manipulation thrives not just because someone intends to control, but because you unknowingly participate in your own diminishing. Not out of weakness, but out of goodwill. Out of your desire to keep harmony, to avoid conflict, to protect relationships. That realization sits deeply in you. It isn't a wound, it's a compass. You lie back and stare at the ceiling, experiencing a strange mix of exhaustion and awakening. Memories drift in and out. Moments when their words made you question your intentions, moments when they framed your independence as selfishness, moments when they convinced you to apologize even when you hadn't done anything wrong. And now, for the first time, you can see every moment clearly. You sit up, feeling the quiet strength forming inside your chest. The kind of strength that doesn't roar, doesn't fight, doesn't argue. It simply exists, grounded, steady, firm. You stand and walk toward the window. Outside, the world moves on, the distant sound of traffic, a dog barking, faint laughter floating from somewhere you can't see. Everything is so normal, yet you feel the shift inside like an earthquake moving under the surface. Growth often looks quiet from the outside. You watch the clouds drift lazily, and another Stoic thought enters your mind. If you are pained by anything external, it is not the thing itself that disturbs you, but your judgment of it. You repeat it softly to yourself, almost like a mantra. Those words unravel a hidden thread within your memory. Manipulators thrive by creating judgments inside you that don't belong to you. They twist your perception until your own mind becomes their strongest tool. But once you reclaim your perception, their influence dissolves. As the hours pass, you decide to take a walk again, this time to the small park near your home. Something inside you wants to be in open space. You need room for these new thoughts to breathe. When you reach the park, the grass is damp, the air cool. A soft breeze carries distant chatter from families scattered across the field. You find a quiet bench beneath a willow tree and sit down. The branches sway gently above you, filtering the light into shifting patterns. You close your eyes and let the moment embrace you. You begin to reflect deeper. What was it about you that made manipulation possible? Your softness? Your patience? Your empathy? Your desire to understand others even when they refuse to understand you? But now, instead of blaming those qualities, you start recognizing something profound. Those aren't weaknesses. They are strengths waiting for discipline. You were never fragile. You were generous. And manipulators always target the generous because generosity is easy to exploit if it remains unguarded. A slow breath escapes your lips as the truth settles. You open your eyes and the world seems sharper, clearer. Children run across the grass laughing loudly. Someone jogs by with steady rhythm. The leaves rustle as though carrying their own quiet wisdom. Life feels honest here, untouched, unfiltered. And you begin to realize that honesty has been missing from the relationship that drained you. Not honesty in words, but honesty in intention. You reach into your bag and pull out your notebook again. A blank page waits, and you let the pen move at its own pace. I will not let someone else's insecurity define my worth. You pause, then write another line. Peace without personal boundaries is not peace, it is self-erasure. As the ink dries, you read the lines slowly. They feel different from the notes you wrote before. These aren't thoughts of pain, these are thoughts of rebuilding. The start of a new internal architecture. For a moment, you imagine the face of the person who manipulated you, not with anger, not with resentment, but with clarity. You see them for what they were, a person threatened by your strength but too broken to admit it. A person who needed power to feel stable. Someone who used confusion as a tool because they could not offer honesty. You exhale softly. It isn't your job to fix them. It isn't your job to carry their emotional weight. It isn't your job to make yourself small so someone else can feel tall. You close the notebook and let the weight of those truths settle. As the sky begins to dim, you sit under the willow tree a little longer. The world doesn't rush you. There's no urgency here. The softness inside you, the gentleness you once feared was weakness, now feels guided, sharpened, elevated. You are learning the art of being soft without being controlled, kind without being blind, open-hearted without being unguarded. The park grows quieter as people begin to leave. The air cools. You stand, take one last look at the willow branches drifting in the breeze, and begin walking home again. Your steps feel different now, not heavy, not hesitant, but steady. You are not the same person who walked here earlier. The walk back from the park feels like moving through a quieter version of the world, one where every sound is softened, every color slightly muted, as if life itself is giving you space to process what is unfolding inside. You reach your street, noticing the gentle rhythm of your footsteps, almost as though your body has aligned with the calm forming in your mind. Inside your home, the air feels familiar, yet something is undeniably different. You're beginning to occupy your own presence again, no longer shrinking to fit someone else's expectations. There's a subtle confidence forming in your posture, in the way you breathe, in the way your thoughts arrange themselves without urgency. You place your notebook on the table and sit beside it, letting your hands rest in your lap. A moment of stillness washes over you. Not the kind of stillness that comes from exhaustion, but the stillness that comes from clarity, like a lake finally settling after being disturbed for too long. Your thoughts return to the journey you've been walking, the gradual recognition of manipulation, the slow reclaiming of boundaries, the rediscovery of your inner voice. It hasn't been easy, but every realization has brought you closer to a truth you ignored for too long. You don't owe anyone access to your peace, especially someone who uses that access to unsettle you. You lean back in your chair and allow your mind to drift. Images of past conversations resurface. The subtle tone changes, the emotional traps, the way their sympathy appeared only after their demands were met. It wasn't love. It wasn't care. It was control wrapped in affection. And now, with clearer eyes, you can finally see the difference. You remember something Marcus Aurelius often reflected on. The closer a person is to wisdom, the calmer they become. And now the calmness rising within you doesn't feel accidental. It feels earned. You stand, stretch your arms, and move toward the kitchen. The small routine of preparing a drink, boiling water, waiting, pouring, feels grounding. You hold the warm cup in your hands and take slow sips, letting the warmth settle into you like a reminder that life contains gentle moments that don't demand anything from you. As you drink, you begin reflecting on something deeper. Why did their manipulation work for so long? The answer surfaces slowly, honestly, because you believed that your kindness required sacrifice. Because you thought understanding meant accepting every behavior. Because you confused patience with silence. Because you wanted to avoid hurting someone else, even while you were hurting quietly. You place the cup down and rest your palms on the countertop, feeling the cool surface beneath your hands. Your reflection stares back through the window glass, a softer version of yourself, yet somehow stronger. You whisper into the quiet room, that ends now. Not with anger, not with vengeance, but with clarity. You walk back to the table, open your notebook again, and begin writing without hesitation. I am learning to walk away from what harms me, even if it once felt familiar. The sentence lands heavily on the page. You read it again, then continue writing. My peace is not an offering for someone else's emotional instability. My boundaries are not negotiations. They are responsibilities I hold toward myself. Your handwriting steadies as you fill the page. Every word becomes a promise to your future self. After closing the notebook, you sit back and let your mind expand beyond the page. A memory returns, one you hadn't thought about in a long time. A moment when they accused you of being distant simply because you needed time to think. You remember how uneasy you felt, how quickly you apologized, how you took responsibility for their discomfort. Now, looking back, you finally understand. They weren't hurt. They were losing control. You exhale slowly, feeling the weight of that realization settle into your chest. Not heavy, but clarifying. The room grows dim as evening begins to settle outside. You turn on a soft light, and in its glow you feel yourself returning fully to the present moment. There's a quiet strength inside you now, a strength that doesn't need to prove itself. It simply exists, steady and unmovable. You decide to step outside for a moment, to breathe fresh air, to let the evening settle into your senses. As you open the door, a gentle breeze greets you, carrying the distant sounds of the neighborhood, soft conversations, footsteps, the hum of a passing car. You walk slowly down the street, not with any destination in mind, but with a desire to feel your own presence in the open world again. The sky above is turning a deeper shade of blue, stars beginning to appear like quiet witnesses to your transformation. As you walk, you begin to understand something important. Healing isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't happen in a single moment. It unfolds slowly through daily recognitions, small choices, silent affirmations. You pause at the corner of the street and look around. People pass by, carrying groceries, talking on phones, laughing with friends. Everyone is wrapped in their own stories. And you realize that for the first time in a long while, you feel grounded enough to carry your own story without collapsing under its weight. The night deepens around you and you turn back toward home. Your steps feel steady, aligned, certain. There is no rushing, no anxiety, no second guessing, only presence. When you reach your door again, you feel a quiet certainty settle inside your chest, something you haven't felt in years. You trust yourself, not fully yet, not perfectly, but enough to know you're on the right path. You step inside, close the door gently, and stand there in the stillness of your home. When you close the door behind you, the quiet of your home feels different. No longer a place where your thoughts echo with heaviness, but a space where your inner world can breathe without being judged or interrupted. You step into that silence like stepping into a warm bath after a long storm. You feel the weight of the day settle in your muscles, not as tension but as release. You move toward the living room, switch on a dim lamp, and sit on the floor instead of the couch. The floor feels grounding, steady, honest. You stretch your legs out, lean back on your palms, and let your spine soften. Something inside you loosens, like a knot slowly unraveling after years of being tightened. Your mind drifts back to the progress you've made. You didn't expect clarity to feel this gentle, this quiet. You always assumed recovering from emotional manipulation would be explosive, full of anger, confrontation, dramatic endings. But what you're feeling now is something entirely different. A quiet reclamation, an inward expansion, a recentering of your own dignity. You close your eyes and think of something you read once. A person who has mastered themselves cannot be controlled. You repeat it slowly, letting the words settle like dust on a surface that hasn't been touched in a long time. You begin to understand it now in a way you didn't before. Manipulators don't control you because they're powerful. They control you because they convince you that your inner world isn't yours. They make you doubt your emotions, your perceptions, your intentions. They turn you into a stranger to yourself. And now, piece by piece, you're becoming familiar with yourself again. You open your eyes and look around the room. Everything is the same. The furniture, the colors, the quiet hum of the refrigerator, but your relationship with the space has shifted. It feels like you're finally living in your own home, not in a place where someone else's voice still echoes in your head. Your thoughts drift back to a moment that used to deeply confuse you, when they accused you of being cold, just because you took a moment to think before responding. You remember how guilty you felt, how quickly you broke your own boundaries just to make them feel secure. But now, with your mind clearer, you see the truth beneath that moment. It wasn't you being cold. It was them being threatened by your composure. A subtle strength rises in your chest as you acknowledge that truth. You're not the fragile person they made you think you were. You were emotional, yes, but not unstable. You were thoughtful, careful, sincere. They twisted your qualities because your calmness exposed their chaos. You lean your head back and stare at the ceiling. You feel no anger, only understanding. You stand slowly and walk to the window. Outside, the night is deepening, the world dim but peaceful. You open the window slightly and let the breeze move through the room. It carries the faint scent of earth, distant smoke, and night air. You inhale deeply, letting the coolness settle into your lungs. For the first time in a long time, you aren't trying to figure out what someone else is feeling. You aren't trying to maintain a false peace. You aren't shrinking. You aren't anxious. You're just present, fully, quietly, honestly present. You walk back to the table, open your notebook again, and let your pen move on its own. Today I realized peace isn't something people give me. It's something I return to. Another line follows. My mind is mine again. As you write, you feel something settling, like dust falling onto a surface that's finally still. You close the notebook gently, almost reverently, as if closing the door on a chapter that no longer defines you. You turn toward the hallway and walk to your room, not because you're tired, but because something inside you wants to rest. Not sleep, but rest as in stillness, as in allowing your soul to expand without interruption. You sit on the edge of your bed and let your hands rest loosely in your lap. Your heartbeat feels steady, rhythmic, almost meditative. Your breathing flows naturally. Another memory rises, one that used to haunt you. The way they dismissed your accomplishments, belittled your efforts, made jokes that weren't jokes. The way they subtly planted the belief that you weren't enough. You see that memory now through a new lens. It no longer hurts. It no longer confuses you. It simply informs you. You whisper to yourself, that wasn't love. That was insecurity wearing a mask. You lie back on the bed and stare at the ceiling, feeling a softness spread through your chest. You aren't resisting anything inside you. You aren't fighting thoughts or forcing clarity. You're simply allowing things to settle into their rightful places. Your mind drifts to the Stoic idea of inner citadel, the notion that within you lies a fortress no one can breach unless you open the gates for them. In the past, you opened the gates out of trust. Now you're learning that trust must be paired with wisdom, not blind hope. You're building your citadel again, you think to yourself. You turn your head slightly and look at the small lamp glowing beside you. The light is warm, soft, steady. And for a moment you see yourself in it, steady, warming, quiet, yet alive with strength. You sit up again, place your feet on the floor, and take a slow breath. Something inside you whispers, you're finally becoming who you were before the confusion. You stand and walk slowly through your home, touching the back of a chair, the edge of the table, the handle of the door. Everything feels like a gentle confirmation of your return to yourself. The night deepens outside, but inside you, a new clarity begins to rise. Not loud, not overwhelming, just steady, like dawn forming behind distant mountains. You stand at the doorway of your room for a long moment, feeling the shift inside you. You remain standing in the doorway for a moment, feeling the stillness around you and within you. The house is quiet, but it's not an empty quiet, it's a quiet that feels earned. A quiet that comes after a long journey of confusion, emotional noise, and internal storms. You take a slow breath, letting the air fill your lungs, and then exhale with a sense of settling, of grounding. You walk toward the small table near the window and sit down again, folding your hands loosely in your lap. Night has deepened outside, painting everything in soft shadows, and the faint glow of streetlights flickers through the glass. You find yourself watching the world in silence, not because you're searching for something, but because you're learning how to simply be with yourself. Your mind drifts back to memories that once felt heavy. Now you watch them, not as painful reminders, but as old scenes from a life you're stepping away from. You observe them with the kind of clarity that comes when the fog finally lifts. Every manipulative comment, every emotional trap, every guilt-infused moment, it all looks different now. Less powerful, less personal, less defining. You realize something important. It wasn't your responsibility to hold together what was breaking. It wasn't your duty to explain the boundaries they refused to respect. It wasn't your burden to keep peace with someone who thrived on disrupting it. You place your fingertips lightly on the table, feeling the cool wood underneath. A steady calm flows through you, a kind of inner silence that doesn't feel empty but deeply restorative. You think of a lesson rooted in Stoic teachings. No one can harm your soul unless you hand them the permission. And in this moment, you understand it more deeply than ever before. You stand, feeling a gentle firmness rise in your posture. You walk through your home, touching familiar objects with a sense of quiet ownership. This is your space, your sanctuary. For so long, it felt like a place where you wrestled with your own thoughts. Now it feels like a place where you're rebuilding them. You decide to make a small meal, not because you're hungry, but because you want to engage in something grounding. The simple act of preparing food becomes a kind of meditation. Washing your hands, selecting ingredients, listening to the soft sounds around you. Each small action reflects the state of your mind. Slow, deliberate, patient. As you cook, your thoughts turn toward the person who once manipulated you. But instead of bitterness, you feel detachment. Instead of anger, you feel understanding. You begin to see them as a person carrying their own unhealed wounds, projecting their inner instability onto others to maintain a sense of control. You whisper quietly to yourself, how heavy their world must be. Not with pity, but with clarity. You finish preparing your meal and sit down at the table. The food smells warm, comforting, simple. As you eat, you aren't rushing. Each bite is intentional. You're not thinking about past arguments or future anxieties. You're here, fully present in the moment. After finishing, you place the dishes in the sink but don't wash them immediately. Tonight, you're allowing yourself to be unhurried. You return to your notebook and sit once more. You flip to a new page and let the pen move. Not every connection is meant to last. Some are only meant to teach. You pause, then write another line. I am learning the difference between loyalty and self-sacrifice. Your chest rises and falls with a slow breath as you read those words. They feel true. They feel earned. You close the notebook gently and place it beside you. You decide to step outside for a moment. The night air greets you, cool and steady. You walk a few steps out onto the quiet street, the world illuminated by soft street lamps and distant shadows. The silence feels almost sacred. As you stand there, you reflect on the journey you've been walking through, the progression from confusion to clarity, from inner conflict to inner order. You remember how deeply their manipulation once affected you, how it made your thoughts swirl and twist until you couldn't tell what was real anymore. And now, standing under the night sky, you feel something quietly triumphant rise inside you. You found your way back. You walk slowly down the street, each step feeling intentional. The darkness doesn't feel heavy, it feels peaceful. A dog barks faintly in the distance, a window glows from a nearby house, and the world around you continues with its own quiet rhythms. As you walk, your mind continues to untangle the last knots of the past. You realize that manipulation didn't break you, it woke you. It forced you to see where you placed your boundaries loosely. It forced you to confront the parts of you that were too forgiving, too hopeful, too willing to carry weight that wasn't yours. It forced you to grow. You stop at a corner where the streetlights cast long shadows across the pavement, and you stand there, breathing in the cool air. You think of another Stoic truth. You have power over your mind, not outside events. You repeat it in your mind, letting its meaning settle. You can't change what happened, You can't rewrite the choices someone else made, but you can reclaim the part of you that once felt lost. You turn and begin walking back home, your steps steady and grounded. When you reach your front door, you pause for a brief moment, recognizing how different you feel compared to the person who stood here hours ago. You step inside, lock the door gently, and stand in the hallway with a soft exhale. You are not the same. You are not broken. You are not confused. You are unfolding. You walk toward your room and sit on the edge of your bed again. The lamp casts a warm light across the room, and you feel a sense of closure forming. Not an ending, but a shift, a transition into a deeper understanding of yourself. Your breathing slows. Your thoughts settle. You've come a long way without even realizing it. From the moment you began noticing the subtle shifts inside your mind, the fog that used to swallow your clarity has slowly started to thin. But in this final stretch of the journey, you're facing the truth that many people never dare to confront. Manipulation doesn't end when you walk away from the person. It ends when you walk back into yourself. Marcus Aurelius once said that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. And now, after everything, you're finally beginning to see the true color of your own mind again. But the story doesn't end here. Not yet. Because the final lesson is the most difficult. Understanding how to protect yourself for the rest of your life. You're not just healing. You're rebuilding your inner walls brick by brick with awareness, intention, and unshakable self-respect. As you move forward, you will meet more people. Some will be kind, some indifferent, and some will carry the same shadows you've already escaped from. But this time you're not walking blindly. You're walking awake, and that awareness is your shield. Now you notice the shift in your energy every time you sense dishonesty. You can feel manipulation before it fully forms because you've lived inside its trap. You're no longer impressed by sweet words that come without consistent actions. You're no longer confused by people who pull you close only to push you away. You can read inconsistencies like a soldier reading the wind before a storm. You've learned the seventh sign deeply. A manipulative person always tests your boundaries. They poke, they pressure, they guilt. They twist your kindness into a tool for their advantage. But not anymore. Because now your boundaries are not drawn in sand, waiting to be stepped over, they're carved in stone. You now know that when someone tries to force guilt on you for choosing peace, they're revealing their own chaos. When someone tries to make you doubt your worth, they're revealing their lack of it. When someone tries to control you through silence, withdrawal, or emotional unpredictability, they're revealing their own fear of being powerless. And you're done being a character in someone else's script. A different kind of strength rises in you now. Not the aggressive kind, not the loud kind, but the deep kind. The silent, steady kind Marcus Aurelius wrote about. The strength that comes from understanding yourself so thoroughly that no one else can rewrite your truth. You see, once manipulation breaks, your true self returns. But it doesn't return quietly. It returns with clarity. It returns with self-respect. It returns with a new standard for what you allow and what you walk away from. Your silence is different now. Before, your silence was something that someone used against you. Now, your silence is a space where your mind breathes. Before, your emotions were weapons turned against you. Now, your emotions are signals that guide you. Before, you allowed people to dictate what you should feel, who you should be, and how you should live. Now, you don't move unless your spirit agrees. That is freedom. You've walked through confusion, doubt, self-blame, and emotional exhaustion. But look at where you stand now, in complete awareness. Awareness is painful, yes, but it is also liberating. Marcus Aurelius would say that the obstacle becomes the way. And you've proven it. The person who once manipulated you unknowingly forged your inner strength. Their actions became the fire that burned away your illusions. Their deception became the hammer that shaped your wisdom. You didn't just survive manipulation. You transcended it. And this transformation will echo through the rest of your life. People will notice the change in you, not because you speak louder, but because you've become impossible to fool. Your presence is different. Your eyes see through intentions. Your energy doesn't bend to convenience. You walk with the calmness of someone who has returned to their own soul. But here's the truth you need to carry forward. Healing doesn't end with awareness. Healing becomes a lifestyle. Every day you will choose clarity over confusion. Every day you will choose boundaries over guilt. Every day you will choose peace over chaos. And every day you will choose yourself even when choosing yourself makes others uncomfortable. Because you finally understand that manipulation only thrives in the absence of self-awareness. And now that you see clearly, no one can dim your vision again. This is your rebirth. You've climbed out of the shadows that someone else created. You've reclaimed your mind, your emotions, and your direction. And as this journey reaches its final moment, something powerful happens inside you. a quiet confidence settles into your bones. You realize that you no longer fear manipulation. You recognize it, you understand it, and you can walk away from it without hesitation. Others may try. Some will test you. Some will push. Some will pull. But none will break you, because you now hold the one thing no manipulator can tolerate: self-possession. You own yourself now. And with that, your story takes a turn into strength, awareness, and unshakable emotional clarity. But before you step into that new chapter, there's one truth you must take with you. Manipulation ends the moment you decide that your peace is worth more than someone else's approval. Before you continue, understand this. Most people never realize they're being manipulated until it's too late. They mistake control for love. They mistake guilt for loyalty. They mistake chaos for passion. And they mistake emotional confusion for destiny. But you, right now, are about to break that cycle forever. Because in this video, you're going to discover the 7 evident signs someone is secretly manipulating you, drawn through the calm, disciplined lens of Stoic philosophy. These signs are subtle, they're dangerous, and they're happening around you more often than you think. If you've ever felt drained, confused, guilty for no reason, or constantly on edge around someone, then this is the moment your clarity begins. Pay attention. Your freedom starts now.